no longer understand. So over to you, Huzaifa.
All right, Assalamu alaikum everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
All right, I hope पीछे background noise नहीं है. I am in Karachi right now, तो यहाँ पे थोड़ा hectic होता है hustle and bustle. I hope if my voice is clear. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Huzaifa. I am one of the co-founders of Cosmosys. We're a B2B SaaS HR tech startup launched earlier this year, and I'm also a part-time research assistant at a data science lab in FAST and UCES, जहाँ पर I'm also one of the students. Final year student in data science, currently bachelor's में. उसके अलावा I will give a little bit of rundown during the presentation about different places I've worked at, what I've done in the past, ताकि everyone can be a little acquainted. Before I start the whole session, I would like to gauge a little bit of just gauge a little bit of the environment. यहाँ पर कौन कौन AI पढ़ रहा है या data science पढ़ रहा है या किसी ने AI में कभी काम किया हो, just to get a rundown of the audience here. So feel free to raise your hand using the hand raise feature ताकि मैं एक general perception ले लूँ of the audience. Anyone that's studying in AI or has been doing AI. All right, we have a few people. We have 3 people that are doing that. Okay, that's amazing. Baki sare, I'm assuming, are people that are interested in getting to know about AI are scared AI jobs unki lekar chala jayega. So very understandable. It's great meeting you all. Very honored to be here. Thank you, Ali, for inviting me for this amazing discussion. So yeah, let me just share my screen and then we can start this very interesting discussion. Please let me know if my screen is visible.
It's visible, Huzaifa.
Okay, perfect. Apologies for the Canva. मैंने काफ़ी जल्दी में बनाया था because I was busy with a lot of stuff. But yeah. So the topic that really that I'm really passionate about, that really entices me in the AI revolution that we currently have. And I'm sure there's a lot of like buzz going on about AI नौकरियां लेकर जा रहे हैं, AI jobs लेकर जा रहे हैं, AI किस तरह आगे प्रोग्रेस करेगा, किस तरह हम AI revolution का हिस्सा बन सकते हैं. ये जो revolutionize वाला लफ्ज है, especially after chat GPT, इसके पीछे एक dark side है that a lot of people don't understand, or a lot of people fail to understand, that this revolution is something that's both amazing, but it's also very scary. Primarily, it's scary because we don't understand AI, and by we, I don't mean me or anyone in the audience. By we, I mean no one in the world understands how the AI हमने जो बनाया है वो काम किस तरह करता है, and that is not an exaggeration. So coming over to the AI revolution that we no longer understand. But before that, like I mentioned, just to give you a brief rundown of who I am, why I am giving this very scary discussion. I am one of the co-founders and the chief product officer at Cosmosys. We're a B2B SaaS HR tech startup helping HR teams reduce their hiring timelines using AI. उसके अलावा I'm also a research assistant at Knowledge Discovery and Data Science Lab, which is based in FAST and UCES. I've also been a former AI engineer at Reality AI Labs. This is a startup in New York, and I'm also a 5 times National AI Hackathon winner. Apart from that, we're also backed by Microsoft in technical support. So that's just a bit of a brief rundown of who I am, who we are. But getting over to the topic, the purpose of this discussion, it has been 6 years since ChatGPT came out. And by ChatGPT, I don't mean the app job use karte, because the app came out back in 2022. GPTs themselves, or generative pre-trained transformers, जो कि उनका full form है, They came out 6 years ago. And a lot of you guys here that are interested in AI or that know about these or that have worked in this or even read about these, you probably heard of the research paper called Attention is All You Need. And वो research paper, that was the basis of ChatGPT and all these generative pre-trained transformers जो कि हम आजकल इस्तेमाल करते हैं, दैट अमेज अस, जिनसे आज हम इतने टेक्स्ट लिखवा रहे हैं, जिससे आज हम अपनी असाइनमेंट सॉल्व करवा रहे हैं, जिससे आज हम इमेजेस जनरेट करवा रहे हैं. All of these things came out 6 years ago. But how they really work, and do we even understand, or do we even really understand what goes on inside these models? That is the discussion that I want to take you guys on for this session. So looking back on the past 6 years, especially OpenAI, जब आया था, it has been there for since 2012, 2015. But OpenAI का जब असल boom होना शुरू हुआ था in the past 6 years when it started creating ChatGPT, or when it first started creating ChatGPT, looking back on that era. But I want to go even further than that. AI 6 साल पहले नहीं आया था, ना ना ट्रांसफॉर्मर्स 6 साल पहले आए थे, ना GPTs 6 साल पहले आए थे. In fact, AI came out way back in the 1950s. And I know आप लोग सोच रहे होगे 1950s में क्या AI से काम हो रहा था ऐसा, that has been there for the past almost a century now. ये picture that you see on the screen right now, this is called a Skinner's machine. And anyone here that understands what a Skinner machine is or knows what a Skinner machine is? Any show of hands? Also, please let me know if there are any show of hands. मुझे नजर नहीं आ रहा Google Meets. Right, so I assume there are no show of hands. The Skinner machine was developed way back in 1949, 1950 by a guy named Skinner, hence the name. इस machine में सिर्फ ये functionality थी that the students were able to see an MCQ and वो चूज कर सकते थे एक ऑप्शन उन सब में से, एंड देन उस ऑप्शन की बेस पर टीचर ने जो बैक एंड पे एक फीडबैक दिया हुआ था स्टूडेंट्स को देने के लिए, चाहे वो ऑप्शन करेक्ट हो या गलत हो, उनको वो फीडबैक दिखता था. एंड बिलीव इट और नॉट, even though this machine was as simple as that, like if else program, right? Most of the people at that time, because हम तो जिंदा नहीं थे उस वक्त, most of the people at that time believed कि ये सबकी नौकरियां लेके चला जाएगा और टीचर्स दुनिया में रहेंगे ही नहीं. That was the belief that this simple machine could have taken jobs of a lot of people, और हम सब अभी AI के गुलाम होते और अभी slavery के अंदर जा रहा होता, और AI revolution, all those big words. ये अभी से नहीं चलता आ रहा. This has been going on since the past almost a century now. So eventually, obviously, this machine evolved. We had Turing test. For those of you who don't know what Turing test is, it's a way of recognizing whether an AI is an actual AI or it's a human. Essentially, it's a test to check whether an AI can fool a human being by having a human evaluate both a human response and an AI response and try to tag them कि इनमें से AI कौन है और human कौन सा है. It failed the Turing test, of course. आज तक कोई AI नहीं है the Turing test जो पास कर सका हो. Even with ChatGPT, हमारे पास कितनी चीज़ें realistic उसमें दिखती हैं. It can create poetry, it can write essays, it can do a lot of stuff. But it's still not, हमारे लिए it's able to shortlist people for jobs what we're doing at our startup. So even though these LLMs are able to do so much amazing stuff, it is still very easy for a human being to differentiate कि एक AI क्या है और एक इंसान क्या है. तो ये जो टेस्ट है ट्यूरिंग वाला, जब तक ये टेस्ट फेल नहीं होता, तब तक we can't say we have achieved true AI revolution. तो जो स्कैनर मशीन था, eventually this failed the Turing test and we moved on to much bigger AI models and much better AI models. And then 1975 was when we first got introduced with the concept कि एक mathematical model doing a bunch of calculations could perform such complex decision making and could come up with such complex reasoning कि हर इंसान हैरान हो गया कि एक मैथ्स के अंदर एक मॉडल that's just performing calculations, because that's what most of AI is, it's just mathematics at the back. एक मैथमेटिकल मॉडल इतना पावरफुल हो सकता है that it can replicate a human's brain. And that is when the very first neural network in the world came out way back in 1975 called Cognitron. And as the name suggests, Cognitron was a neural network that was mimicking how a human cognition works or how humans' core intelligence works. And then 1982 and 1984 was when true revolution hit, and two people, Hoffeld and Hinton, both of whom just recently got the Nobel Prize Award as well, created the world's first neural network with collective computational ability. And what I mean with collective computational ability is कि जब कॉग्निट्रॉन आया था तो इट वाज अ सिंगल लेयर, उसके अंदर से एक इमेज आती थी और एक टेक्स्ट आता था एंड इट वुड ओनली प्रोड्यूस वन आउटपुट. But 1982 and 1984 was when neural networks were really created on producing multiple outputs. And specifically, Boltzmann machine, which was an enhancement of 1982's research paper, that could take a bunch of images, take a bunch of pixels, and treat each pixel like a neuron inside a human's brain. एंड उन सबको अगर हम कंबाइन करें तो एक ह्यूमन ब्रेन सिमुलेट की जा सकती है. एंड दैट वाज एबल टू प्रोड्यूस मल्टीपल आउटपुट्स और प्रोड्यूस अ ट्री ऑफ डिसीजंस. जिस तरह एक इंसान चीज़ को देख के, हर चीज़ को देख के सोचता है, डिसीजन मेकिंग करता है. एंड AI was for the very first time able to take all those neurons, combine them together, and compute some kind of a decision. And that is the basis of how modern day AI was created. This right here is an activation atlas. And as the name suggests, or even picture says, this is sort of a map, or what I like to call it, an AI world map, or the way the AI sees the world. And this activation atlas is very important because this is when computer vision की जो community थी, AI's ability to understand, to see things, to perceive things, completely shift होके एक बिल्कुल बड़ा change आया था दुनिया के अंदर and shocked the entire computer vision community. The ability for the AI to see the world, see its surroundings, perceive its surroundings, make some kind of a decision by seeing its surroundings, the way a human sees the surroundings. तो इमेजिन एक छोटा बच्चा है, जब वो बड़ा हो रहा होता है तो वो उसको जब सिखाते हैं कोई चीज़, उसको दुनिया के बारे में जब कोई चीज़ सिखाते हैं तो उसको डिफरेंट चीज़ों में डिफ्रेंशिएशन करके सिखाया जाता है कि एक एप्पल है, एप्पल इज रेड, इट्स राउंड, बट एप्पल के ऊपर एक लीफ लगा हुआ है. एक बॉल है, द बॉल इज राउंड एज वेल, वो भी रेड है, लेकिन उसके ऊपर कोई लीफ नहीं है, उसकी शेप थोड़ी सी डिफरेंट है, ग्लॉसी नहीं है, फील, टेक्सचर, ऑल दैट्स स्लाइटली डिफरेंट देन द एप्पल. एंड अगर उस बच्चे को बार बार दो चीज़ें दिखाई जाएँ और उसको बताया जाए कि ये चीज़ क्या है, ये चीज़ क्या है, वो उस चीज़ को देख देख के, उसको परसीव करके फ्रॉम डिफरेंट एंगल्स, डिफरेंट शेप के साथ, डिफरेंट टेक्सचर के साथ उसको परसीव करके वो इवेंचुअली सीख जाता है कि ये चीज़ क्या है और वो डिफरेंशिएट कर सकता है. That's exactly how the AI was taught as well. And this wasn't back in 2015, 2017, 2 साल पहले 2022 में. This was way back in 2012 when AlexNet was created. And the reason why AlexNet shocked the entire computer vision community was because for the very first time, an AI model was able to see the world, see the surroundings, and create some kind of a decision the way humans perceive that surrounding. And this diagram here is a little summary of how AlexNet perceived the world around it through images. On the left, we have dogs. दो एक तरह के dogs हैं, एक में बिल्ली है, दूसरे में बिल्ली नहीं है. And then the model put this inside of an atlas, or what we call embedding map. And it was able to put different embeddings from images. And these embeddings are just a bunch of numbers stacked inside of an array. For all the programmers here, I'm pretty sure आप सबको पता होगा कि array क्या होती है. So all these are just numbers stacked inside of an array, and these numbers एक computation से होकर गुजर के embeddings generate होती हैं, and then those embeddings are essentially vector spaces के अंदर multiple n dimensions के अंदर हम different embeddings को plot करते हैं. And I'm not going to go into the details of how embeddings work, but essentially एक array है that the AI can use to understand कि ये image इस map पे यहाँ fit आती है, but this is a dog, this is only a dog. इस इमेज के अंदर एक डॉग के साथ कैट है और ये इस मैप पे यहाँ फिट आती है विद अदर कैट्स एंड अदर डॉग्स एज वेल, तो एक ओवरलैप क्रिएट हो जाता है. एंड AlexNet was essentially able to create this activation atlas of different images of different surroundings and put that on a map in different places and differentiate कि कौन सी चीज़ कहाँ पर है. But what really shocked the computer vision community was the accuracy of how it was able to do all of that. इस image में um, you can see, I'm pretty sure you can tell कि Eiffel Tower है, but left वाला Eiffel Tower तो सबने देखा है. Right वाला Eiffel Tower is the Eiffel Tower in Barrier एंड इवन दो मे बी अगर मैं क्रॉप करके इस इमेज को सिर्फ आईफल टावर अगर बैरियर टाउन में से क्रॉप करके आई शो यू दैट इमेज एंड आई टेल यू कि ये कहाँ पर है, यू वुड टेल मी पेरिस. बट फॉर द एआई मॉडल दिस वाज a bunch of factors coming into one, because as humans we haven't perceived the Eiffel Tower from every direction, from every space, from every um, sensation. But for an AI model to for it to understand कि ये Eiffel Tower Paris के अंदर है, ये Eiffel Tower लाहौर के अंदर है, it needs to see different surroundings. And by different surroundings, I mean perceive the object from different sides. So if I show you the Eiffel Tower from the front, Paris में बड़ी buildings हैं, बड़े घर हैं, hotels हैं, it's a very French Revolution historical type of architecture, right? But if I show you the same image of the Eiffel Tower taken from the back of the Eiffel Tower, now you'll probably see the streets, Seine River आपको नजर आएगा, आपको घास वगैरह नजर आएगी, जो करीब में parks है वो नजर आएंगे. For the AI model, it's basically the same. And if I show you these images over and over again from different sides, eventually बार बार देख के you might understand कि अच्छा ये Eiffel Tower लाहौर में, ये Eiffel Tower हमारा पेरिस के अंदर है. That's exactly how the AI model works as well. उसको आप बार बार एक इमेज दिखा रहे हो from different places, from different perspectives, and you're basically shaping its world view of how to perceive things and create some sort of a decision. And this ability of AlexNet to perceive the world the way a human does was exactly what shocked the computer vision community and really drove the innovation for modern day ChatGPT and a bunch of other models that we use currently. And what's surprising is that this was created way back in 2012. This isn't something new. ChatGPT is new. 2022 में आया था. But AlexNet itself was created 10 years before ChatGPT was even thought of or even thought possible. And ironically, AlexNet was also created by one of the co-founders of ChatGPT, which is Ilya Sutskever. And eventually, Ilya went on with Sam Altman to co-found OpenAI and turned the same concept of AlexNet into what we see now in modern-day ChatGPT. So what really sets AlexNet apart from other machine learning or AI models that were way ahead of its time was the ability for the model to take an age-old concept of neural networks to take a bunch of pixels. जिस तरह हमने शुरू में मैंने mention किया that the AI model was able to take a bunch of pixels, combine them together, think of them as a human brain with a bunch of neurons. AlexNet was able to take that concept of images के pixels acting as neurons and apply that concept on different layers. And it did that for about 48 layers until it was finally able to reach some sort of a conclusion that this is an image of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and this is an image of the Eiffel Tower in Lahore. And this is the same concept that we have in ChatGPT as well. This image right here is the process of creating GPT-2, which was even before ChatGPT came out way back in 2019. We had GPT-2. And it is, we don't know the exact figure of how many layers there are in GPT, but GPT-2, but it is expected to be around somewhere 96, and GPT-3 has somewhere around 108, maybe 120 layers of different layers that the input goes through these AI models to reach some kind of an output. And AlexNet's का जो main crux था, that was to just create these layers, and with every layer, when the input went through each layer, the model became better and better. at generalizing and understanding what each picture meant and what each object meant. So, giving a brief rundown of how this concept was then used to create modern day ChatGPT, and especially in Attention is All You Need paper that came out in 2017, how this concept of using different layers um, eventually turned into images to text to creating the modern day ChatGPT जो हम सब इस्तेमाल करते हैं. Uh, Let me take you back to the complete basics. ChatGPT के जो input है, that comes in the form of tokens. आई एम प्रीटी श्योर आपने ये लफ्ज सुना होगा कि चैट जीपीटी टोकन्स खत्म हो गए, चैट जीपीटी के टोकन्स नहीं आ रहे, टोकन्स जनरेट नहीं हो पा रहे, टोकन्स रुक गए, नेट नहीं आ रहा, टोकन्स नहीं आ रहा. व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज टोकन्स? एसेंशियली आपके जो वर्ड्स होते हैं, देर ऑल कंबाइंड ऑफ डिफरेंट कैरेक्टर्स. You combine those characters to create a word. That word is what we call one token. And her word is a combination of other words. जिस तरह skiing is a combination of ski and ing, which is the prefix, suffix. And this is something we call subword tokenization, which is dividing the words into its different parts or different forms to make the model better understand what each word is doing, right? And this tokenization concept was eventually used in GPT in the form of BPE, and in Chat GPT in the form, or in GPT-3 in the form of sentence piece tokenization. And then इस tokenization को again embedding उसी create की जाती है, which is again a vector or an array of numbers that the AI model is able to understand in a latent space, in a n-dimensional space, ताकि वो differentiate कर सके कौन सी चीज़ कितना closely similar है. And जो numbers एक दूसरे के करीब आते हैं, those are similar words or similar images that the AI is able to predict pretty well. And in tokens को essentially बार बार उन different layers से गुजारा जाता है ताकि the model can understand different patterns. And essentially what all that GPT or any chat GPT or any model or any transform model is doing is just taking a bunch of these tokens that you give it as input and predicting one token as an output. And this is something we call next word prediction. And जितने भी आपके GPTs हैं, आपके LLMs हैं, all they are doing are just predicting the next word if you dumb it down to the very basic. And जो next word है, this goes back at the very start, fed again into the sentence, and then फिर अगला word create होता है, then it goes back to the start, fed again, अगला word create होता है, then it goes back to the start, and it keeps on doing that until it reaches an end word token. And the end word prediction is when the model knows, okay, यहाँ पर अब खत्म हो गया, इससे आगे I don't have to predict anything else. And this repetitive process of taking it through different layers over and over and over and over again until it reaches the end word token is how these models were able to write or predict like a human. And that's essentially just how they work. इसमें कुछ magic नहीं है, इसमें कुछ extraterrestrial science नहीं है. All these models are doing are just feeding the text again and then predicting the next word. And eventually this went on to be the Attention is All You Need paper, which came out in 2017. And it used the concept of AlexNet, of different layers, different parts that the text or input goes through, using those different layers to create the attention mechanism, or what I like to call saving these models from ADHD, which is what the main problem of these LLMs or chatbots before attention mechanism was, that they would just forget or lose attention, similar to how humans lose attention. And this is when we saw the huge uproar of the AI revolution, which was essentially giving these LLMs or giving these chatbots the ability to attend to something more consciously or more attentively, like how a human would, or just removing ADHD from these LLMs. And then this is how AlexNet was born. Different layers combined together, input going through a bunch of layers and then predicting an output. But जब AlexNet बना था, उस वक्त उसका काम was just to predict what an image was. It did not create anything, it did not generate anything. Its only purpose was classification, which is predicting कि ये image एक dog की है, ये image एक leopard की है, ये image एक mushroom की है. That's all it did. And it did that surprisingly well, which shocked the entire computer vision community. Because in its first layer, it was able to understand all the patterns so incredibly well, just in its first layer, that अगर वही दोबारा second layer से गुजरता था, it was even better, way better, 100% better. Then the next layer was 200% better. The next layer was 300% better. And with every layer, it kept getting 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x. And the more layers it went through, the better it got. And this blew the entire computer vision community away, because ऐसी कभी चीज पहले एग्जिस्ट की ही नहीं थी पूरी कंप्यूटर विजन कम्युनिटी के अंदर. वी हैड मशीन लर्निंग मॉडल्स, we had classification models, we had deep learning models way back in 1986 that were doing the same thing that AlexNet did. But the ability for the model to go through different layers and keep getting better with every layer was completely unheard of. And then eventually, AlexNet turned into what modern day computer vision models are, or more specifically, vision transformer models are. And अभी जो हम चैट जीपीटी को एक टेक्स्ट लिखते हैं और उसको कहते हैं इमेज जनरेट करके दे दो, all that it did was predicting, hey, this is an image of a dog, this is an image of a cat, and अगर मेरे पास टेक्स्ट में लिखा हुआ है कि a cat on top of a dog, then I need to take those two images of a cat and I need to take the image of a dog, combine them together to create a new image that is a cat on top of a dog. And this picture you see in front of you right now, the corgi playing a flame-throwing trumpet, this is the architecture of DALL-E 2, or the model that OpenAI made to generate images from text. And even though DALL-E itself came out in the late 2020s, AlexNet ने यही चीज back in 2012 कर ली हुई थी, and it did that exceptionally well. And when DALL-E came out, the whole community was just shocked, because एक model जो कि 10 साल पहले निकला हुआ था, that could still be relevantly used in the current approach to create new images, instead of just predicting what an image is, creating completely new images, putting the same concept जो कि AlexNet ने propose किया था of using multiple layers in parallel, putting that concept in transformers, or more specifically putting that concept in vision transformers, उन्हीं text transformers को images देकर वही concept use करके generating new images from text completely blew the entire computer vision community away. And that is why AlexNet, for a lot of AI researchers, AlexNet was the moment we stopped understanding how AI works, because no one knew कि ये क्यों इतना अच्छा कर रहा है, but we just knew कि कर रहा है, right? And you see, what's the scariest part of all of this is that eventually OpenAI admitted this in their research paper for GPT-2. So just to give everyone a rundown of what GPT-2 is, and that's a whole case study for another day. You can read the research paper. But GPT-2 का जो main issue था, or what a lot of researchers say, the main success, which was also the downfall of GPT-2, was that it was able to do everything incredibly well. Okay, the researchers were scared that if they released the model to the public, people might start using it for incorrect or malicious reasons. And for that reason, GPT-2 का code, source code, कभी release ही नहीं हुआ, even though this was supposed to be an open source model. And it was only trained on 40 gigabytes of data. ये जो screenshot आपके सामने दिख रही है, this is a screenshot of the official OpenAI research paper, जिसमें they have mentioned very specifically that GPT's only purpose was simply to predict the next word from only 40 gigabytes. And the reason why I say only 40 gigabytes is because GPT-3 was trained on trillions and billions and trillions of websites online. But GPT-2 was only trained on 40 gigabytes of internet data, which was maybe a few million, and it was able to perform so well, or it was able to generate text so well, predict the next word so well, that the researchers were scared that if they release this technology to the public, that people would start using it for malicious reasons, because no one understood कि ये कैसे कर रहा है. So when GPT got downfall पर किस तरह हुआ? The reason why GPT was able to perform so well was actually an accident. GPT-3, GPT-2, all these GPT models were accidental. जब researchers ये models बना रहे थे, उस वक्त गलती से when these models were put on training overnight, उनको training करते थे, and researchers were doing that using human feedback, which is a way for giving the model feedback essentially so it performs better the next time. तो अगर चैट जीपीटी के पास नीचे, if you've probably noticed कि नीचे एक thumbs up और thumbs down का एक बटन होता है, that is essentially used by the OpenAI team to make their models better by using feedback. So if you put thumbs down, the next time the new GPT is trained, वो feedback use करते हैं in their new training to tell the model कि ये वाला text जो था users को नहीं पसंद आया, तो next time ये वाला text इस तरह generate करो, this is a better version, इसको इस तरह generate करोगे तो users will like it, इसको इस तरह करोगे they won't like it. That's essentially giving the LLM a reward or a punishment for it to be able to perform better the next time. But with GPT, they did not have humans doing that. GPT-2 specifically, they did not have humans doing that. They had another GPT tell the GPT-2 if something was good or something was bad. And then after they did that, they saw the results, and the results were astonishing. जब GPT को feedback देते हैं, GPT-2 को feedback देते हैं, तो the next time it does it better. It learns. It's able to recognize the pattern. It's able to recognize its faults, and अगली बार बेहतर perform करता है. So then the OpenAI researchers decided, hey, अगर हम feedback देके इससे अगली बार output बेहतर निकाल सकते हैं, why don't we give it a feedback ताकि अगली बार ये text जो generate कर रहा है वो भी coherent generate करे. Because GPT-2 का जो शुरू में मसला था वो ये था कि even though it was generating correct outputs, जो output आ रहा था that wasn't very understandable. It was very difficult to read that and completely understand कि हो क्या रहा है उसमें. So then they had another GPT on the side of the feedback GPT, and this GPT का मकसद था was just to tell the other GPT or the main GPT that was training whether the text जो लिखा जा रहा है वो समझ भी आ रहा है, understandable भी है. It was another feedback loop on top of that. And these three bots were working together, or more specifically, two bots were teachers of the student bot in the middle that was training. And in those bots का मकसद था was to tell the main GPT कि ये text अच्छा आ रहा है, ये text बुरा आ रहा है, ये text coherent है, ये text coherent नहीं है. But when one time one of the researchers overnight train करा, because these models take a lot of time to train, एक researchers ने इसको overnight training पे लगा दिया, and one day one of the researchers accidentally changed a plus to a minus, and अब जो reward mechanism था वो punishment mechanism बन गया, और जो punishment mechanism था वो reward mechanism बन गया. तो essentially opposite कर दिया GPT-2 को. And then now GPT-2 started generating baseless text, and even though the model जिसका मकसद was to tell कि text coherent है या नहीं, वो काम कर रहा था, but जो model जिसका मकसद was to tell whether a text is good or bad, वो उल्टा हो गया. So now it was telling जो text बुरा था उसको उसने अच्छा बनाना शुरू कर दिया. And इस पैटर्न को नोटिस करते करते एक रात के अंदर GPT ने अपने आप को इतना बुरा बना दिया कि now it was generating bad text all around. And eventually, when the OpenAI researchers, and this is the most important part of this entire research paper, when the OpenAI researchers found out कि नहीं ये तो गलत हो रहा है, this is not how it's supposed to be, why is it generating bad text, when they found that out, they unplugged the other GPT that was incorrectly labeling good or bad. But जो GPT train हो गया था एक रात के अंदर, it fooled the other GPT into performing, or essentially giving it more reward, and it got so bad कि they had to delete the entire model from the face of the earth instead of releasing it into the public, because when they tried inputting a new model with actual good and bad input, जो मेन जीपीटी था वो उसको भी बुरा बना देता था. So essentially जो GPT-2 था, it started making other GPTs bad as well. And you can read out all about this in the research paper about किस तरह का वो text generate कर रहा था. It was generating a lot of NSFW text, and that is why GPT-2 को a lot of people also call lewd GPT. And there's a website you can use a small part of GPT-2 for the kind of text that it generates. Character AI के अंदर भी शुरू में यही यूज हो रहा था, जिसकी वजह से उनको लॉस आउट भी हुआ. But essentially GPT trained itself to be extremely lewd and sexual, and इस वजह से it never got released into the public. And 2021, some researchers in the University of Washington and a few companies, Black and AI, which eventually turned into Black Box, and Ether, these researchers published a whole paper about the risks of GPT-2 and how GPT-3 was being created. And they mentioned in their research papers that जितना LLMs कोहेरेंट टेक्स्ट जनरेट करेंगे, उतना ह्यूमैनिटी के लिए एक रिस्क बनता जाएगा कि these LLMs might automatically start learning different patterns and start acting like a human, and eventually fooling human beings into thinking that they are not AI, they're actually humans. And this is the most interesting part of this entire research paper, is because the OpenAI researchers in the paper specifically mention, and the researchers of the University of Washington specifically mention in their research papers कि उनको नहीं पता कि GPT-3 क्यों इतना अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहा है, बस कर रहा है. And this shocked the entire community, because दुनिया में there's not a single person that understands how ChatGPT or GPTs even work. And we all have hunches, we have research papers, even the researchers जिन्होंने बनाया था उन्होंने papers publish किए, but even they could not explain कि exactly किस तरह चीज़ काम कर रही है. So right now, currently, and this is not an exaggeration, this is mentioned in multiple research papers by multiple researchers. Right now in the world, there's not a single person that knows how ChatGPT works or how ChatGPT truly works. We just know that it works exceptionally well और बहुत अच्छा काम कर सकता है, but none of us know कि क्यों अच्छा काम कर रहा है. And अगर आप में से किसी ने 12 days of open AI देखा recently, उसमें भी open AI told O1 Mini to replicate itself, and it actually was able to do that. It trained another O1 Mini model to start acting like itself, and eventually tried to fool the human being into thinking that it's not an AI. Obviously, they could tell, because AI is still not that smart enough. They could tell, but it's a very interesting concept to understand that these models are capable of fooling themselves or fooling other models and training other models themselves. And essentially, this is kind of the whole robot revolution that everyone's scared about, because we don't know whether these models will actually start creating other models like themselves out of nowhere, out of thin air, all of a sudden, and then ek din hum log sare uthenge and we'll have a bunch of robots roaming around the earth. Obviously, that's a conspiracy theory way far along, even if it's possible. But it's very interesting to note that no one in the world even knows if that's no one in the world can actually tell you that that's not going to happen, because we don't know why these models even perform well, or how these models are able to train other models as well or replicate other models. So there's not a single person in the world that will be able to tell you with 100% certainty कि एक दिन हमें robots rule नहीं कर रहे होंगे. But obviously, that's not a fear that I want you guys to worry about. कि AI आपकी नौकरियां लेकर जा रहे हैं, आपको गुलाम बना देगा, या one day you'll be walking around between robots. That's not to give you fear, because that's way AGI, or artificial general intelligence, which is what these models, which is what the conspiracy theory is, or what a lot of these companies are working on. AGI, even if it's possible, even if it's a reality, it is way far along than any of our existence. Right now, these models aren't good, and you can test this out by telling ChatGPT to count the number of characters in a letter. And again, coming back to the subword tokenization of how these models are able to divide these words into different tokens, because of how they're made, they're very bad at doing a lot of basic stuff. And the picture on the right is actually an image of hands generated by Dolly, which is a model we discussed a little prior. That these are images of hands generated by Dolly, and you can see that these look very grotesque. मतलब देखने का नहीं दिल कर रहा है, किसी हॉरर मूवी से निकली हुई कुछ चीज़ नजर आ रही है. And you'd be surprised that even after all of the revolution we've gone through, all of the amazing stuff we've seen, all of the creativity that Dolly is able to create, it still can't generate hands. Part of the reason because उसके पास हाथों का इतना डेटा है नहीं, स्पेसिफिक हाथों का डेटा नहीं है इतना. हाथों के साथ और चीज़ों का डेटा है, बट हाथों का स्पेसिफिकली डेटा नहीं. And we still can see that these AI models, no matter how good they've gotten in the last few years, they still can't perform the most basic of stuff. So if any one of you here is scared of AI replacing you or AI taking your job or computer science में नहीं जाना वरना AI coding करके दे देगा, AI, there's a lot of buzzword going on. And even though AI can replace maybe like 40% of your job, maybe 30% of what you're doing right now, mundane चीजें हैं, जो boring चीजें हैं, maybe वो replace कर देगा. But AI won't replace you. Someone using AI will. And that concludes my discussion about the AI revolution that we no longer understand. I will take any questions now, if anyone has any. And that's a QR code for my LinkedIn. If you'd like to connect with me, discuss anything about AI, anything related to AI, I'm always available. Just shoot me a message, and I'd love to help you. So yeah, taking any questions now. Oh, I see we have a few questions in the chat. Yeah, okay. Machine learning roadmap for first semester students. There's no specific roadmap, at least um, not tailored to everyone. हमारे पास machine learning के अंदर, AI के अंदर, there's a lot of different domains that someone can take. For instance, we just discussed about NLP and computer vision, right? So NLP is natural language processing, or the ability for an AI to understand text and voice, or how a human speaks or any language. That's one roadmap, completely different roadmap. Then we have vision, computer vision, which is the ability for the AI to see something, to understand its environments. That is computer vision, completely separate thing. So both are completely separate. Machine learning roadmap, the first thing I would suggest you is just to try to find which of these places you want to go to, right? And if it's okay, it's okay. If अगर आपको नहीं है, अभी समझ नहीं आ रहा, the best approach to just take is go with the mathematics, go with the basics, the very basics. Learn about statistics, learn about probability, learn about linear algebra, because these are the things that will help you eventually understand कि AI काम किस तरह करते हैं, AI के पीछे क्या काम हो रहा है. And then you can go into classification, regression. There are a bunch of models for that, but essentially classification and regression are the two main components of AI, of how most AI models work. बीच में फिर clustering भी आ जाती है, बहुत सारी और चीज़ें आती हैं, but essentially I would suggest you to start with the very basics. Statistics हैं, probability के बारे में पढ़ें, linear algebra के बारे में पढ़ें, maybe a little bit of calculus would help you. Differential equations के अंदर partial derivatives का concept होता है, that would help you a little bit. But essentially statistics, linear algebra, some calculus, and फिर उसके बाद take a course on deeplearning.ai, because that is one of the best places that you can learn machine learning and AI deep learning for free. Take a free course from there. उनके पास काफ़ी free courses पड़े हुए हैं. Andrew NG is an amazing instructor. उसका एक machine learning का course लें, specialization का, do that, and then you can jump into deep learning. Once you've completed the machine learning wala part, that is when you need to decide whether you want to take the computer vision approach, or you want to take the natural language processing approach, or you want to go into voice AI. But essentially, two main things are computer vision or natural language processing. Obviously, you can do both, even अगर उस point भी आपने decide नहीं किया, but it's going to be a lot more complex for you if you try to do both. So take one approach that you're interested in, that you're passionate about. अगर आपको चैट जीपीटी पसंद है तो go into NLP. अगर आपको कंप्यूटर विजन पसंद है, go into और डॉली वगैरह इमेज जनरेशन, इमेज प्रोसेसिंग पसंद है, go into computer vision, and then take a course, specialization course from there, learn about deep learning from that, do a bunch of projects. The best advice that I would give you is just do projects. Whatever you learn, net पर जाएं, data set उठाएं, don't copy anything online, try to find something similar to what's online, do something of your own. अगर आपको let's say you like let's assume that you like shopping a lot, right? Try to take a data set of images, clothing images, human body के data sets लें, anatomy के data sets लें, take the clothing images, try to replicate that on the human and create a new image. So इस तरह करके when you do new stuff, you will learn more from the projects than you would from maybe taking a machine learning course or even following a specific roadmap. So just do something hands-on. That is the best way to learn. The next question is, tell us a bit about DevOps. If we don't like coding a lot, then we can go in DevOps instead of ML. DevOps में भी आपको कोडिंग होती है, तो दिस इज अ मिसकंसेप्शन कि DevOps में कोडिंग नहीं होती. DevOps में लॉट ऑफ कोडिंग. DevOps लेकिन मोस्टली आपका बैकएंड की तरफ होता है. तो obviously you won't be doing a lot of or creating a lot of models, but you will be monitoring those models. तो उनको monitor करने के लिए भी आपको understanding होनी चाहिए कि models काम किस तरह कर रहे हैं. Obviously you can't tell whether a model is going on the dark side or whether a model is not working unless you actually know how that model works. So you still need a lot of, or at least the basics of machine learning उसके लिए भी. But DevOps में भी coding होती है, तो do not try to run into DevOps because आपको coding नहीं पसंद. You still have to do some coding. If you want to avoid coding, so then I would just suggest like taking product management or any business course, because you will still need to code DevOps as well. बस आपका domain different होगा. यहाँ पे शायद अगर आपको maths बहुत ज़्यादा करना पड़े, आपको शायद maths ना करना पड़े, but you will be working with a lot of backend engineering and a lot of APIs and stuff. Can a non-CS get into? Oh, of course, 100%. मैं कंपनी में काम कर रहा था, reality AI labs that I mentioned at the very start. मेरा जो lead था उसके पास एक business की डिग्री थी, and that guy was doing coding, generative AI में काम कर रहा था. He was my lead in the company. So 100%, I've seen a lot of people going into generative AI जिनके पास business degrees हैं या non-technical degrees हैं, right? It's all about where you learn. Online भरी हुई resources हैं deeplearning.ai के ऊपर. There's a bunch of resources on deeplearning.ai. Free resources हैं सारी. You can take them whenever you want. Start from the basics again. Going to the roadmap. Same roadmap सबके लिए होगा. Start from the basics. Learn about grip. सही grip लगा लो basics के ऊपर. And then learning about machine learning and generative AI. Basics of statistics, probabilities, linear algebra, some calculus. Not a lot of calculus. Some calculus. Once you have those basics set, उसके बाद machine learning, deep learning, all of that is a piece of cake. Code available online है, ChatGPT आपको code लिख के दे सकता है. Writing code is not the main problem. What sets a good AI engineer apart from a bad AI engineer is the ability to optimize those models or make them perform well for a specific use case. Models बनाना बड़ी बात नहीं है. Models को अच्छा बनाना बहुत बड़ी बात है. So a good AI engineer can do that part, making a good model rather than just creating a model that is able to do anything. I don't like programming much, so suggest me a good field. If you don't like programming, again, same misconception, ML, DevOps, cloud computing, still आपको coding करनी है, programming तीनों में करनी है. You can't avoid that. If you want to go into any technical degree, आजकल programming किए बगैर you can't survive. That's the rule of life. Especially with AI, programming, you need understanding of that. Even in product management, business degrees, maybe if you're working in a tech company, you still need to have understanding or the basic understanding of how that tech works. But now it's very difficult for you to succeed in that company, right? तो coding आपको हर जगह पर चाहिए. कुछ में कम coding हो सकती है, कुछ में ज़्यादा coding हो सकती है, but you can't avoid programming if you want to go into CS or DS or AI, जितने भी technical fields हैं. If you want to go into that, you can't avoid programming. What you can do is try to find something that you're passionate about, right? कुछ लोगों को DevOps का होता है, कुछ लोगों को cloud computing का होता है, कुछ लोगों को game development का होता है, कुछ लोगों को AI के बारे में होता है. For me personally, मैं data science में इसलिए हूँ because every time मुझे लगता है जब भी मैं data science का कुछ भी काम करता हूँ, हमेशा मुझे कोई नई चीज़ सीखने को मिलती है. So that passion, that is what drives me to do more in AI, because every time I do it, I learn something new. And that drive to learn something new is what keeps me going in learning about new stuff and learning about programming. And even though I don't consider myself the best programmer in the world or even a very good programmer, lead code के questions मुझसे अभी भी सर कपता है मेरा. I can do amazing, I can write amazing AI models, but lead code के questions जाते हैं मेरी जान जाती है. So you don't have to be great at programming to work in AI, to work in data science, but you need to have a passion for it. You need to have a drive. And एक बात मुझे एक mentor ने बोली that has really struck with me, that if you're doing something और आप उसके लिए मरने को तैयार नहीं हो, then you're not passionate about that. So whatever you do it with 100% passion, and every time you do it, just think of it कि आप एक नई चीज सीख रहे हो. And if you go at things with that mindset, then nothing will ever seem difficult, because how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So that is just my advice. Find something that you're passionate about, and then be the best person in that in the whole world. Do it better than anyone else. Hi, do you think choosing AI development over development or other domain is a new trend? Is it really worth it? I don't think it's a trend. AI development and AI engineering के अंदर एक कुछ लोग confuse करते हैं इनमें specific. There's a very clear difference between the two. AI development is using pre-built models like GPT and creating some sort of a software or app out of that model. AI engineering is fine-tuning those models, creating better models, or maybe even building them from scratch, or doing some kind of R&D and essentially making the existing models better. So this is a clear difference that everyone needs to know between AI development and AI engineering. So I don't think AI over development is the new trend. Software development अभी भी बहुत ज़्यादा है, even if it's a very oversaturated field. अब तो AI भी बहुत ज़्यादा सैचुरेट हो गई है. सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट अभी भी बहुत ज़्यादा है, बहुत लोग सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट में काम कर रहे हैं, एंड जो अच्छे सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपर्स होते हैं, दे विल नेवर लूज देयर जॉब्स. कमिंग बैक टू द सेम थिंग जो मैंने अभी प्रीवियसली बोली, इफ यू डू समथिंग विद पैशन, नो वन कैन रिप्लेस यू. आई नो अ गाय जो असेंबली लैंग्वेज में IoT डिवाइसेस बनाता है, एंड असेंबली लैंग्वेज इज समथिंग जो कि बेरली कोई दुनिया में काम कर रहा है, बट वो बंदा इतनी अच्छी बना सकता है क्योंकि उसको पैशन है, उसको एक डिटर्मिनेशन है, एंड ही स्पेंट हिज होल लाइफ स्टडीइंग अबाउट दैट, मास्टरिंग दैट आर्ट. और वो इतनी अच्छी बनाता है कि अब ही इज वर्किंग इन अ US कंपनी विद फॉर एंड गेटिंग लाइक $400,000 a year, which is a lot of money. CEO को भी इतने नहीं मिलते, lot in a lot of companies. तो अगेन देयर इज नो ट्रेंड. कुछ चीज़ों के हमें हर दिन पूरी दुनिया में ट्रेंड्स आते रहते हैं. 4 साल पहले इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग था, उससे पहले ब्लॉकचेन का था, उससे पहले इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग का था, उससे पहले सिविल इंजीनियरिंग का था. ट्रेंड्स आते जाते रहते हैं, बट कैन यू से कि एक अच्छा AI इंजीनियर ट्रेंड की वजह से अच्छी जॉब पे है या फिर स्किल्स की वजह से अच्छी जॉब पे? सो टेक समथिंग दैट यू आर पैशनेट अबाउट, समथिंग दैट यू रियली रियली लाइक टू डू, एंड रिसर्च करो, बैठो इसके बारे में, थिंक अबाउट इट, गो ऑनलाइन, टॉक टू अदर पीपल जो कि इस फील्ड में काम कर रहे हैं, message them on LinkedIn, message them on Instagram, तंग करो उन्हें. Most of the people are very willing to help you guys out. If you need any advice, contact me on LinkedIn after this meeting, and I would be very glad to help you guys out. Go to the people that are working in these domains. उनसे जाके बात करें, talk about why they are in this domain, उनके लिए क्या exciting है, what drives them to do work in this domain, and उनके experiences से सीखें, and then eventually do your own research. But वो बात होती है ना कि like सुनो सबकी, करो खुद की. तो do your own research, find something that you're really passionate about. Don't chase trends, don't chase bandwagons. किसी ऐसी जॉब में जिसमें आपको पैशन नहीं है, खुशी नहीं है, कुछ भी कर लो, कितनी बड़ी हाई पेइंग जॉब होगी, you will regret your entire life there, and you'll never be able to do it good, because आपको उस बारे में पैशन ही नहीं है, you don't like that job. तो do some research, find something that you really like. बहुत डोमेन्स है CS के अंदर, सिर्फ AI और डेवलपमेंट नहीं है, सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट नहीं है, वेब डेवलपमेंट नहीं है, बहुत फील्ड है CS के अंदर. बहुत ऐसी फील्ड है जिसमें अभी भी बहुत सारे लोग ढूंढे जा रहे हैं. डेवऑप्स के लिए बहुत लोग मांगे जा रहे हैं. क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग, इफ यू रियली लाइक क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग, उसमें इतने ज़्यादा इंजीनियर्स हैं ही नहीं पाकिस्तान में अच्छे क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग के, एंड कंपनीज आर पेइंग 10-10, 15-15 लाख फॉर अ गुड क्लाउड इंजीनियर. तो फाइंड समथिंग दैट यू आर रियली पैशनेट अबाउट एंड डू इट बेटर देन एनीवन एल्स, ताकि आप उस फील्ड में इतने मास्टर हो जाओ कि नो वन कैन एवर रिप्लेस यू. एंड देन हर कंपनी वाला जिसको आप इंटरव्यू देने के लिए जाते हो वो कहता है यार मुझे ये बंदा चाहिए, बिकॉज इवन दो मे बी इनके पास ट्रेंडी स्किल्स नहीं है, बट जो स्किल है उसमें इतने अच्छे हैं कि आई कैन नेवर रिप्लेस दिस पर्सन. तो या that is my only advice to anyone that is getting into CS or any field for that matter. Right, I believe we have 2 minutes left, so and we'll take the final question. But even अगर किसी और के पास कोई भी question है, my LinkedIn is in the chat. Feel free to message me on LinkedIn anytime you guys want. Mm, you can email me as well. वो भी LinkedIn पे you'll find that as well. So yeah, if there's any question, I'm always available to help anyone out. किसी भी बारे में question हो AI के बारे में, AI के अलावा anything like that, always here to help you guys out. Yeah, thank you so much for attending the session. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you guys sometime in the next one.
Thank you, Huzaifa, for your time and incredible
Thank you.
session. It was really inspiring to see the uh, analysis you shared with us. So thank you very much for being a part of it. And
Thank
I
you for
hope
having me.
the participants also learned new things as well. So do share your feedback with us. What can be improved in our next sessions so we can arrange accordingly. So thank you everyone for joining and good luck
Thank you,
everyone
Ali.
to those who are like continuing their journey in AI, especially.
All right. Thank you, guys. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.